Welcome to TechnoVersify. This is our new broadcast on the Ustream channel, and I'd like to welcome Matt Schneider on board from CPO Biofuels. Matt, how are you today?
Hey, doing all right, Amy. How you doing? Hello to the audience.
Hello, audience. I hope you have a good one. So we're broadcasting, which is kind of awesome today, and from this new channel. It's been a while since I've done this by myself. So, Matt, where do you want to? Where jump in where you want to?
Well, today we're going to be talking about water in general, and some of the things you've heard about water, some of the things that you may hear about water, and some of the things that are actually going on about water. Some of the things that you may have heard about water. Water's getting scarce. Oh, there's no more water. Now, in regions, like Southern California, which is where I am, we are dealing with a drought, and we're also dealing with other issues that, for some reason, reservoirs that were full were emptied that weren't supposed to be, and things like that, but we won't go there.
Right.
The reality is that we are now dangerously short on water. Now, this is an El Nino year, and all indications are that this is going to be a rather wet El Nino year.
Right.
I hope that is the case. But what you're hearing, outside of the region of Southern California is that, water is scarce. There is no more water. Fresh water, we're using it all up. And in, some local areas, there may be aquifers that have been overpumped and things of that nature.
Right.
But generally and as a rule, 70% of the planet Earth is covered in water.
Yeah.
Now, that's not water we can drink, but it is water nonetheless.
True.
Now, being able to make that water drinkable is not the miracle of scientific prestidigitation that costs millions and millions of dollars that some people will tell you.
Right.
It can actually be done, depending on what's in the water that you're cleaning, because that's very important.
True.
And what type of clean water you want, because that difference is really where the magic of the process happens.
Right.
And the process can be tailored to both ends of the process. What's coming in versus what you want to go out. First, there's more than one kind of water. Okay, we all go to the store and we see on the shelf drinking water.
Right.
And distilled water.
Right.
Now, there is a difference. Generally, as a rule, you're not supposed to drink distilled water. You can actually die from drinking too much distilled water.
Wow.
Because what distilled water does is it saps the electrolytes out of your body. It's imagine diluting a battery acid.
Right.
Okay, at that point, the battery's not going to work as well as it would have before.
Right.
And it leaches. Distilled water leaches electrolytes from your system.
Okay.
And since your body is one big whatever you want to call it, machine,
Right.
You must have these electrolytes to function properly, and
Right.
these electrolytes need to be at the right levels. So drinking distilled water is generally not considered healthy. Now, you'll see, diets and workout people and people like that that tell you specifically to drink distilled water.
Right.
I feel that this is not necessarily the most responsible way to go about telling people to drink water, but we've got drinking water, we've got distilled water. Now, there is another kind of water that you'll see used. It's called deionized water.
Right.
And what that is water that has been put through a process where the electrical charge has been removed from the water.
Okay.
Okay, so there are no positive or negative ions attached to any of the molecules. And this is, and there's even cleaner water than that. We'll leave that for Keith to discuss.
Right, right.
But deionized water is as close as one can inexpensively come to having nothing in the glass but H2O.
Got it.
Okay, it's about as close as you can come, and it's used in processing of all kinds of industrial things, like making circuit chips, and we used it when I worked in aerospace and when I worked in the medical device industry.
Right.
When you need water that has nothing else in it, deionized is where you go.
Got it.
And, for lack of ions, I would honestly have to say that drinking deionized water would probably be about 10 times worse for you than drinking distilled water. So as it gets cleaner, it doesn't get any better for you.
Oh, okay.
And another thing about distilled water and deionized water, especially deionized water, is that it will not conduct electricity.
Right.
Okay, drinking water will, but generally distilled water and deionized water will not. And the reason for this is because everybody's told that water conducts electricity. Well, water doesn't conduct electricity.
Right.
It's the salts or the minerals in the water that conduct the electricity.
Right.
The water is just kind of like a substrate in which they can be dispersed.
Okay.
Okay? In other words, instead of the electricity trying to jump from rock to rock to rock, it's now has a path around the rocks that's water that enables the electricity to slip from rock to rock to rock, or from molecule to molecule to molecule as it goes through.
Right.
And depending on the kind of drinking water that you're going to make, like case in point, there is a type of water purification called electrocoagulation.
Right.
One of my personal favorites. Simply because it's far less expensive than reverse osmosis, both in cost to set up and cost to run. And it can be done on shorter, but the byproducts you end up with can actually be sold for animal salt licks and things like that.
Right.
But electrocoagulation, if you want to end up with drinking water, electrocoagulation is wonderful.
Right.
If you want to end up with distilled water, well, you'd have to use electrocoagulation and something else.
Okay.
Okay, but electrocoagulation removes, 99.999% of whatever's in it. It's a very versatile process when you actually get down and look at it. We've got these three different kinds of water, four different kinds of water, include seawater. And only one of these we can drink. And so this is, hyping the lack of clean water is an enormous misnomer, in my opinion, because the technology exists everywhere. To put a couple of electrocoagulation facilities on the coast of Africa and pump water inland using solar-powered pumps, you could really change, the way people live in Africa.
Right.
And some even have say the exact same thing about Southern California, potentially. a
Right.
long time ago, and they put it in mothballs.
Oh, wow.
And for no real reason that no real valid explanation. And but they're pulling it out now, and it uses reverse osmosis, which is fine. I mean, it makes clean water and does everything it's supposed to do.
Right.
But but there's no reason why the state could not be building inexpensive electrocoagulation facilities
Right.
up and down the coast. There's no excuse for it, in my opinion. If the water situation is this bad, there's no reason that this could not be done. And what I think is very interesting is that we're not seeing anything out of the California state government that's pushing anything in this direction.
Right.
I mean, at all. So when they say that we're running out of clean water, understand, in my opinion, that this issue is manufactured.
Right.
And that just as this issue is manufactured, we can very easily manufacture our way out of it.
Right. I understand that completely. I mean, and that's the thing about it is that we really need, as a people, need to recognize what when we're being, like John Stewart said on his last show. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it? Actually, I'm gonna go there and explain it that way. When we're seeing the BS, we can call it out as BS pretty quickly if we pay attention. Just pay attention. That's pretty much what he was saying. Is just pay attention.
Pay attention, and I'd like to add that while you're paying attention, understand that you will see things that are so big that it defies belief.
Right.
There are ways. If you make something that nobody can see it, basically.
Right.
And you have to understand that this type of thing exists, and this device, if you see BS somewhere else, well, it's an entire possibility that this same device is being used as well.
Oh yeah, I know. I know completely. And then they're using that with this water shortage thing. And it is what it is. I don't want to get really political today. I'm kind of out of it. I apologize to the listeners out there. I'm as out of it as I am. It's been kind of a long couple of days. But what I was going to say is, I mean, we deserve better. We deserve to have the truth about our water. We deserve to be able to access water.
We pay for the truth.
Right.
Every time that we are taxed and we don't get mad and take pitchforks and torches to wherever,
True.
We're paying for that truth. And, it's up to the people that we elect to deliver that truth.
True. That is true. And so far we're getting a lot of blockade from one specific group, specifically in this area. And even though there's investment going into it, and that's kind of, Keith is not here right now because he's in the middle of a meeting. So hopefully we're going to send him some good vibes out there, and and
oh yes, vibe.
exactly right. So that he can put together what he needs to do to take care of what he needs to take care of, so that he can get his projects really launched and moving forward, and which is the goal for all of this. So yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I got it. You gotta do what's healthy. That's the other thing. I mean, right now we're dealing with a system that's not healthy. It's
Uh,
not
yeah,
providing.
okay. Here's an example of the conflict that I see. Okay, we have quote environmentalists unquote, and these people with every good intention, I assume, are trying to save species like the snail darter or oh, the little fish up in Northern California. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the fish. But and I understand, that what they're doing is a good thing. I don't want to take anything away from that. But the issue that it raises is at what magnification do we look at the environment? Okay, because species are created and go extinct every day.
And that's horrible.
Whether we
Whoop. Are you there, Matt? Matt?
that yes.
Okay, I lost you for a second, but you're back on. It's all
Oh,
good.
oh okay. Well, dare I ask, where'd you lose me?
Oh, no, I didn't
Uh,
lose you. it was one of those things. So,
oh, okay.
it's all good.
It, it's at what magnification do we look at the environment, and could it be that wanting to preserve a single species at the significant cost to society?
Right.
And I say significant because of something I'll get to in a second here. But at significant cost, when doing so will not necessarily contribute to the overall improvement of the health of the biosphere.
Right.
Okay? In other words, should mankind be trying to micromanage?
Well,
Or should mankind, take a step back and,
no, we should
use a
not
little
take a
broader
step back.
strokes?
We should not take a step back. We should pay attention to what we're doing. We need to step up the game a little bit.
There's the reason that this question comes up is because in making sure that there's enough water in the stream to save the whatever species fish thing it is, this has also caused a lack of planning and development of water projects at all, okay, in the state of California since the 1970s. And that is why we are in the problem we are today.
I can understand that. We already know that we're way behind on technology. We already know that we need to step up the game.
No, it's a matter of the roadblocks to doing such projects that have been put up by the quote environmentalists unquote have made that impossible. As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please say so. I stand to be corrected, please. But to my understanding, that is the basics of what's going on here. And so, at some point in time, there has to be some kind of a compromise that, unfortunately may or may not enable us to save that given species.
I understand, but
And it's a crappy thing to say. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, but it may not be possible for us to be able to do that and not have real problems with water, and water is really important.
Well, it's important for the entire Earth. And, we need to pay attention to the creatures around us. I mean,
Oh, I agree.
but,
I
yeah.
agree. Paying attention. I mean, I I would hate to have something go extinct because of something that people did.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
And when I
we
say
have
that, I
that
mean, we
happen all
put
the
up this
time.
dam, and all of a sudden, every one of species X on Earth is going to die.
Right, and we've done that, and we do that all the time. There's a lot of that happens on this planet.
Mm. Oh yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just, you know, at uh, at what price progress is really the question, and
True.
I don't even begin to pretend that I have an answer to this.
You,
But it's one of those things. It's a hard question to look at, and everybody is well-meaning. I mean, it's just a matter of on what level are people well-meaning, and is there any way to come to a meeting of the minds on these different levels of well-meaning?
well, we have to.
And
I mean,
I don't see why it's impossible. I
we
mean, like
have
right
to.
now, there are places where there are no animals of a given species out in the wild because they've all been hunted or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're in reserves, they're in zoos, they're in animal parks, that kind of thing,
Right.
and they're hoping to reintroduce them.
Right.
A really successful example of this would be the California condor.
Right.
Uh, would it not be better to take that type of approach with some of these other species than trying to, for lack
I
of a better
honestly
term,
can't
hold
answer
up
that.
progress?
I mean, I honestly can't answer that. We have to find a balance for all of it. I mean, that's the only thing that I can come up with is that we have to find a balance for all of it. So, where is the
And,
compromise at?
uh, well, uh, from the standpoint of being, what would you call it? Uh, uh, from the standpoint of an optimist, I would hope that we can.
Yeah, I would
But
too.
I mean, intellectually is one thing. Okay, I mean, intellectually, I think it's really easy for everybody to come to a consensus.
Right.
Because everybody, when everybody has good intentions, nobody wants to pee in these Rice Krispies. I mean, that's
Right.
just the way that goes.
Exactly.
But how that translates to what gets done with a bulldozer someplace
Right.
is where is where we leave, we leave optimism and go to realism.
Right. I know that.
And well, that transition, most often kind of sucks.
Yeah, I know that.
You know,
There's been a lot of protesters and a lot of things that over a lot of that over the years, and people have tied themselves to trees and bulldozers and various other things to stop progress on that level, and yet society always seems to push forward, you know, and do what they're
oh,
gonna do.
and I think at the very least, these people are serving as the ecological conscience
Yeah.
of society. So I mean, there's a place for them. It's a valid place, and because society needs an ecological conscience. That's
Well,
kind of the way
yeah,
that
but
goes.
if they don't, I mean, there's two sides of that coin. The people that stand up and fight for it, just to fight for whatever the creature is or whatever the reality is they're trying to save, and then the people that want to just bulldoze over everything and say screw it, because who cares if that species is around? There has to be a meet in the middle point. There has to be a balance. You know, and I mean, that's one of those things that as a society we need to find. I wouldn't say that the people with bulldozers are necessarily the conscience, because they're gonna err in the judgment of their way and what they want, and then we lose whatever that life form was, based on that. So I mean, the way that I look at it is we have got to find a balance. We've got to respect the reality of what Mother Earth is and what she brings to us. And we have to respect, the fact that in order to be as sustainable on this planet as possible, we have to all come to a consensus that there are things that have to be built and changed, and technology needs to advance. Or
Yes, I agree. The fish I was thinking of was the Delta smelt.
oh, okay.
And,
I have a
you know,
funny grandfather story about smelt, but has nothing to do.
uh, well, it's just, is a captive breeding program not possible?
I don't know. With
Is it
fish,
possible
there are issues there with
to
some
do,
fish.
well, hang on, to do part of whatever water project was going to wipe them out? Is it not possible to alter the project to be inclusive of making sure that they have their little bit of what they need?
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's
in
where
other
you
words,
find a
instead of bowling
balance.
over them, why not just kind of bowl around them?
That's where
So to
we
speak.
find balance. That's where we have to come together as a consensus, as a society, and say, hey, these things are important.
Yeah, I mean,
How
to
we
me,
make,
it's.
you know,
I mean, this is 21st century. We're supposed to be able to do that kind of thing.
oh, exactly. I know, right?
Where's my flying car, for Christ's sake? you know,
Didn't what's his name, the mechanic guy? Didn't he monster garage some kind of flying car at one point a few years ago?
I don't know, but that would be really scary. That would
Yeah.
be. I mean, I'm sure that every inventor's taking his crack at the flying car. I mean, I'll even cop to it. I have too. But it's one of those things where as it relates to water, you don't need to fly. A hovercraft will do just fine.
Right. Right. Or a swamp boat, well, which is the same thing as a hovercraft. A swamp boat, same thing as a hovercraft.
Yeah. I don't necessarily have to fly, someplace. I'll just skim. I'll be good.
Right, exactly.
I understand gravity. Gravity can be a stone cold bitch.
Yep.
With being able to, change the quality of water, like on a wholesale basis, with the WAG project, right?
Right. Yeah, we need to talk about that a little bit, because people need to understand what that is. And
if you make an area livable for life, then life will come.
right.
The earth isn't completely dead yet.
True.
And, if, like I said before, this is not new technology. All I'm doing is adapting something that is used to aerate ponds and small lakes for decades over for ocean use.
Right.
And, even if it wasn't adopted not put it in the places where something like the Delta smelt would benefit?
Right.
Okay, and
Which would
you
make
know,
sense.
I understand that for this particular situation, it's a water volume issue.
Right.
You know, but we have solar powered now. We have solar powered pumps now.
Right.
There is absolutely no reason why we couldn't use a bunch of solar powered pumps to take some of the water at the bottom of the delta and put it back at the top of the delta.
Right. Just kind of move it around. Right.
Therefore, the total volume of water necessary would not be as great.
Isn't that some of what Keith is advocating with his system? The larger as it gets larger, isn't that some of what happens with his system?
Well, with Keith's system, it's very much like I had said earlier in the show. It's what are you trying to take out of the water? What kind of water do you want at the end of the process? He is what I would call him, very much a go-to guy on that concept out of pretty much everybody I know.
Right.
I like to think I get around.
Right.
And so I don't want to put words in Keith's mouth.
I understand. No, I was just wondering if that wasn't what I was trying to say. Doesn't the system that he does as it gets larger, isn't part of it utilizing the natural earth, utilizing natural earth filtration by cyclating water that way? Isn't that part of what his system does?
Well, Keith has a number of systems, and the system that I'm talking about is something that a municipality would use to clean discharge of wastewater.
Right.
Whereas what you're talking about is a completely different deal for his understanding of how we can heal the earth.
Oh, okay, got it. The other question I wanted to hit up on.
Fantastic. I mean, there's just no reason not to be doing that.
Well, yeah, because that was one of the things that he does kind of talk about a little bit. The other thing is have you heard the news about the spill that the EPA caused, of all people, in Colorado, and it's coming my way, so it's fixing to hit us here in Vegas.
It's heading my way too.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but considering that there will be no penalties, there will be no one will be held responsible. Nobody, I've lost any trust in the federal government personally.
I know you have.
I can't see any reason why they wouldn't have done this on purpose.
I don't know. It just the whole thing just makes me angry. I mean,
the whole thing stinks.
It really does. Now, how do we go about cleaning up this mess that's now been created with arsenic and heavy metals now in our water?
Oh yeah, and cadmium will give you the IQ of a grapefruit in about an hour.
Oh, I know that. Believe me, it's a pigment for my paint. So it's one that I don't use often.
Oh, that explains it.
Oh, will you quit? God.
I know, Matt, shut up.
Oh, I don't use it often, but it is a pigment in paint, and it is not a good one. So.
Yeah, I had heard something about that. They were talking about lead, arsenic, aluminum.
Yep.
Which is another real good one if you want Alzheimer's.
God.
Cadmium. Some really nasty stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's all floating down the Colorado River.
Oh, lovely.
Coming towards the Grand Canyon. Well.
Heading towards the water intake of a municipality near you.
Yes, my water intake. The one that I live near. Oy
Yeah,
vey.
that's just it. The Environmental Protection Agency
Did it
has now managed to do the exact opposite.
of what they were supposed to do.
To millions of people,
I know, right?
tens of millions of people, and there will be no consequences. There won't even be a hearing about it.
There should be. The
Oh,
states that are
the head of the
affected by
EPA should
it
be
should,
fired.
the
The people that
cities
were
that are
doing it should be
affected by it
fired.
should
I
be.
mean, we can go on and on and on about all the people,
Bever, no.
that should be fired over something like this. And all of their records should be on the whole thing should be made public, and that means emails and everything.
Everything, exactly.
And should there be any, any hint that this was done on purpose, people should go to jail.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. I mean, we need accountability in this today. Across the board, it just is necessary. You know?
Oh yeah, well you hear the word accountability floated around a lot.
No, that's because
But
they're trying to
nobody is willing to
propagandize
define
it.
And I am willing to define accountability within this context. And in my personal opinion, accountability, is that if you are doing something in representation of the entire public, the standard to which you are held is higher than the rest of us, not lower,
Oh, yeah.
as we've all come to accept.
I agree.
And that, evidence of hanky-panky, would, how can I put this, evidence of hanky-panky would put you on in the fast lane to jail.
Right.
Not necessarily, I mean, there would be a trial and all that like there's supposed to be.
Right.
But there would be, and it wouldn't be the kind of thing where somebody, stays in office for forever until they're in. I mean, you pull off the line, so to speak.
Yeah, and then gets a pension for the rest of their lives, and no, this needs to stop.
No, just that, you pull them off the line. You say, okay, well, you have to be doing your job until we figure this out. We figure it out, and then if they haven't done anything wrong, you put them back.
Right.
If they've done something wrong, well,
then they go to jail and do not pass go and do not collect $200 because it's time for you to pay.
Just because somebody won a popularity contest does not mean that they're all of a sudden immune from prosecution for doing illegal stuff, and if it's illegal for us, it's illegal for them.
Exactly. And
there's no exempting yourself from laws and that kind of crazy crap.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just
it's time. I mean, we can't walk into a courthouse anymore. And now that they're making the real ID a reality, we can't even walk into a federal courthouse anymore if we don't have a real ID, which is just crazy.
Well, if you ask me, I think that several thousand of us should show up at every courthouse
and tote them out. We all
tote them out.
We need to.
Don't hurt anybody. Be completely nonviolent.
Yep.
But
pick them up in their chair. Leave them in their chair. Tote them out.
Yeah, leave them in the chair. Pick up the chair.
Exactly.
I like that. And carry the chair outside. Gently place the chair on the ground and tell them not to come back.
Exactly. Tell them that they have lost their job.
Yeah,
the people have spoken.
That goes for government officials too.
The people have spoken.
The judges. I mean, it's funny. In my opinion, this also would include those at the alphabet agencies.
Oh yeah, I know. I agree.
No, there was a judge that was standing firm against some thing about Obama's something or other, I don't remember what. And then after, I don't know, several months of standing firm and all that, all of a sudden he changes his mind 180 degrees and then leaves the country for 2 weeks on vacation.
Yeah.
And, well, if the NSA is listening, or DHS or whoever is listening to everything that we say, who's to keep them from using it in exactly this way to blackmail people, like judges?
Right.
I'm sorry. To me, it's nothing more than a blackmail bank.
Right.
Do as we say, or we will expose what you're doing. And I'm sure that for some people it doesn't even have to be all that embarrassing.
Right.
I'm sure that for some people it would be, criminal.
True.
But somebody needs to say, go ahead, expose me.
Yeah, I know. Well, we are exposing them.
And yeah, but then come out and say the reason this is happening is because the NSA. Just and spell it out.
Oh well.
Just see that in the alternative media because you'll never see it in the real media, or not real media, the used to be major media.
The corporately controlled media.
Yeah. Well, the propaganda machine. That's really all it is.
And it's not just there are some that are far worse than others.
Well, yeah, but
there are some, and the independent media isn't necessarily all propaganda free either.
True.
Matter of fact, you have to sift through it more.
Oh, well, yeah, that's because of shills, and, I'm sure that there are plenty of news sites that are manufactured just for disinformation, and yada,
they
yada,
are.
yada.
And that's part of what helps the propaganda machines work.
And that on a conceptual basis bothers me simply because it's a waste of taxpayer money. They say that 60% of the accounts on Twitter are either shills or bots.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like 60%? Oh, come on. Even if you can automate most of that, it's still a waste of taxpayer money.
Oh, I know.
If your ideas won't stand up, then why don't you just find their ideas? It's cheaper, quicker, faster.
Oh.
than trying to use all this propaganda crap to sway people to desire to give up liberty and freedom.
I know.
Which is just insane on itself.
I know, right? But
back to water.
Yeah. We got about 17 minutes left, so.
Oh no, we have 17 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna cut us off at about an hour since Keith did not come in today. So we're at about 43 minutes now. So.
Well, back to water.
Yeah, water.
Now, Keith would be far better able to answer the question of what about the radioactivity in the water?
Right.
There is a way to actually clean the ocean, ladies and gentlemen. It's big, it's expensive, and it's weird, but it can be done.
Well, it's something that has to be done because we've got radiation floating towards the United States.
Oh, it's already here, dear.
Oh, I know it is. But it's not being stopped.
I'm growing a hand out my back. I figure it's going to turn into an arm.
It's not stopping. They're not stopping the leakage either, which is making it worse. So.
Yeah, well, they're trying. It's going to take them 40 years.
Yeah, well.
I know. It's like our government poked their nose in everybody else's business. Why not here?
I know, right?
Give me a break. But back to water. That the radioactivity issue notwithstanding, the rest of it, the eutrophic conditions, which are where you're nutrient rich and oxygen starved, the dead zones in the oceans, all of that can be repaired by simply adding oxygen to the water.
Right. Which is what the WAG
uh,
does, correct?
which is what the WAG does. By simply bubbling air through the water, the number of chemical reactions between the oxygen and pollutants in the water alone will do so much to clarify the water, to remove the or oxidize and cause to settle out the contaminants in the water itself. Uh, to me, it's really surprising that nobody came up with this before, in my opinion.
Right.
But the wave action generator is really simple. It's just a wind powered air pump.
Right.
That's set up to be anchorable someplace in the ocean that would have high currents, and so that we can positively affect as much water as possible.
Right.
And we're trying to put together a quick starter kind of thing to be able to build one of these and to deploy it.
Yep.
So we can see just how, everything looks great on paper. Let's see how it looks in reality. And, if you are one of these, quote, environmentalists, unquote, who I've talked about earlier, here's your chance. As I see it, it's one thing to be wanting to, quote, participate by coming up with a legislative answer.
Right.
But it is far more practical and far more directly effective to come up with a direct answer. In other words, instead of Greenpeace going out there to witness the slaughter, which does nothing, for them to go out there and begin planting WAGs every so often.
Right.
Would be something that would be something positive, a direct action that would bring significant direct benefits to the ocean as a whole.
Right.
I'm not saying that they should bail on the whales. Don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah. Right.
But there is more that can be done, and in my opinion, a far more effective use of donations.
Right.
If you could, spend $1,000 on printing up flyers and mailing them out to people, which isn't going to be all that effective, or you could spend $1,000 as part of putting a WAG out there that's going to actually do something when it's done. Which would you rather do?
I'd put the WAG out there, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're a pragmatist.
I know, right?
And it just seems to me as though, for groups, like, the Surfrider Foundation and, who else am I thinking of? Greenpeace, I'm sorry, there's so many. It's like I got like 900 of them coming at my head all at once.
Right.
But if these organizations were to set aside, 1/4% of their annual income each,
Right.
to put, and they only put one or two out there every year. In 5 or 10 years, there's going to be a couple hundred of these things out there.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And then you'll start seeing the large-scale changes
To the ocean.
that everybody wants to see.
Right, bringing the ocean back from this.
Yeah. Well, it's helping the ocean to heal itself.
Right, exactly.
Because as near as I can tell, once the ocean has had the opportunity to heal itself, to over time withdraw the wags, literally one at a time,
Yeah.
2 at a time. You got a couple hundred of them. You're going to take, 20 years to take them all out. You take out, 10 every year.
Right.
To give the ocean an opportunity to adjust. And they don't necessarily have to be out there forever.
Right.
And maybe they shouldn't necessarily be out there forever.
Right.
Mankind should learn to live within nature's limits.
True. I agree. Well, that's why I like sustainable energy.
But to have the opportunity to have the WAG to be able to learn that lesson.
Right.
I think might be a good thing for people to be paying attention to, because remember what Keith said, pay attention.
Right, exactly. We have to pay attention. It's important. With that, if we don't start paying attention, we're not going to have anything to pay attention to. It's going to all go away. I mean, that's the reality, people. We've got to get together on this and start figuring stuff out. I mean, most polling is saying that people would like to implement these kind of changes, where it's a societal change, where we're more reliant on solar or wind and less reliant on fossil fuels and things that are non-productive to the future of our planet. So, how do we accomplish that? We have to put it together and make it happen. We have to stand up. We have to engage in this conversation. Bill Maher did a really good conversation.
There's a coal mine.
Well, Bill Maher did a really good conversation on it.
Build
real time.
Build a biofuel facility or a solar power panel manufacturing facility right next door, and then hire all their people.
Oh, I know, right? But like I said, Bill Maher did a really good program, or segment on this. Where the polling for, like, it depends on how it's framed. The question's framed about sustainable energy as to whether or not people react to it well or not. And the reality is that everybody's concerned about the environment. It's just whether or not we're willing to commit to being proactive within our communities to actually take action. The only way that we can do that is by getting involved. And
well, even if it's something as easy for someone to do as put $5 in an envelope and send it to the appropriate organization.
Right.
That still counts as participating.
Exactly. And there's a lot of programs that are coming together. I want to kind of talk a little bit. We've got about 8 more minutes left. I've been partnering with Tyler Bell. She's on Twitter and Facebook. She's working right now on a program. It's called The Longest Swim. I'll send you information on it, and it's on my Twitter line for those of you who are listening. And I'm constantly retweeting stuff. Basically, right now we have a swimmer out in the Pacific Ocean who is swimming across the ocean, and it's to basically talk about everything we talked about today, to bring awareness to it. And he's it's a big deal. He's doing it. It's called The Longest Swim. Check it out. She's actually working with partners who work in sustainable brands, and we're working on getting some things put together all the way across the board for to get people active and involved and participating, because
he's not doing it nonstop, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he is. And I'll tweet. I'll at you with some information on it so that you can see what's going on. It's a pretty awesome thing. Mark Ruffalo is involved. I'm hoping that we can get Mark Ruffalo involved with us. That's one of the things that I'm working on, because he would certainly be able to get some good stuff moving forward, especially for you with the WAGs. Definitely with Keith over time, as we get everybody all tied together. I'm sorry. Try not to cough right now. I'm not feeling good today. I'm sure everybody can kind of hear me kind of down. So, you know, but it is what it is. So anyway, yeah, so check it out. It's called The Longest Swim. They've got a really big Facebook presence, a big social media across the board, but Facebook, Twitter, just everywhere across the board. Look for it. It's The Longest Swim. It's a project that I think is going to bring the awareness that you're looking for, Matt. It's one of the things that I've been kind of working on. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That'd be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. So now we were down to 5 minutes. So I don't know how many people. It's hard for me to tell on this program as to how many people we have listening right now.
All of them. We have all the people that are listening right now are listening right now.
Exactly. We've been getting a lot of likes and things, which is kind of awesome.
Good.
We've had a lot of tweets, some Google stuff. So thank you to everyone that's helping support us today on this program. Not having JGF behind. Well, it's not that we don't have JGF. We have JGF and Joey behind us. It's just that we're not on his network where we would have some of the benefits that we would have from him. So we really thank you for kind of working with us through this little transition while he does what he needs to do to get everything back up and going again. So, so thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to the archive if that's what you're doing right now. So, Matt, do you have anything you want to add to this?
I just want to thank the audience for sticking with us and being there and being part of the deal. We're all in this together by ourselves.
Exactly.
And, if we don't band together and do something, something that's going to show the world that it is possible to generate a positive effect, I mean, what else are we here for?
Exactly. I mean, our goal is to be all that, and make real changes here. It's the only way we can. We have to.
Yeah, how to be all that and a bag of chips.
I know, right? Right. Oh, wow. But I'm hoping that Keith's meeting went really, really, really well. And hopefully we'll get him back on the show. I'm working on a couple of guests that we're working friend of mine that I'm working on getting on here. So I'll let you know once I've got that absolutely set in stone. It's some really cool stuff. So and we've got just a couple more minutes. So anything else, Matt? Do you?
Just that the WAG, in my opinion, it's an important project.
It is.
It's using something that is so simple to do something that is so big, and it's all right there.
Right.
I personally, when I see something like this, I feel kind of guilty when I'm not able to implement it, simply because it's such a simple fix and such an inexpensive fix.
Right.
For such an enormous problem that and when I say fix, I don't mean that it'll fix the oceans and therefore we can continue to live as we have been.
Right.
The changes that need to happen in our industry and the chemicals that are going down the Mississippi River,
right.
And out into the Gulf and all that still needs to change.
Right.
Okay? It still needs to become less of what it is. But at least the WAGs would give the Gulf of Mexico a big boost in its immune system, so to speak.
Right.
And You know,